A billionaire handed his credit card to a street beggar and walked away. 48 hours later, his phone buzzed with a notification. It wasn't what he expected. It wasn't food, it wasn't alcohol, it wasn't anything he could have predicted. And in that single moment, watching numbers appear on a glowing screen, he realized this homeless stranger had just done something that would shatter everything he believed about human nature and force him to confront a truth he'd spent his entire fortune trying to avoid. Marcus Chen didn't become a billionaire by trusting people. At 42 years old, he'd built Vertex Technologies from a college dorm room into a $15 billion empire. Artificial intelligence, cloud computing, data analytics, his company's algorithms predicted consumer behavior with 94% accuracy. His software could tell you what someone would buy before they knew they wanted it. But he couldn't predict people. Not really. Not when it mattered. His penthouse occupied the entire 47th floor of Seattle's newest luxury tower. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Puget Sound. Original Warhol prints hung on walls that cost $3 million to finish. His wine collection was worth more than most people's retirement accounts. His walk-in closet was larger than the average studio apartment. Yet, every night he came home to silence. Expensive, temperature-controlled, acoustically perfect silence. His father had taught him one lesson above all others. Vincent Chen had immigrated from Taiwan with $200 and an engineering degree. He'd worked 3 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, saved every penny. He'd built a successful manufacturing company through pure discipline and zero sentimentality. "Trust no one, Marcus," his father had said 1,000 times, "especially not the poor. Poverty makes people desperate. Desperate people will tell you anything, promise you anything, take everything you have and disappear. Never forget that. Never be weak." Marcus had carried that wisdom like armor for 42 years. Every business deal included ironclad contracts, every partnership protected with NDAs and non-competes, every charitable donation filtered through foundations and tax attorneys. He gave millions to causes each year, but always at arm's length, always through intermediaries, always ensuring he never had to look need directly in the face. He told himself this was smart, this was practical, this was survival in a world designed to separate fools from their money. But lately, something had started gnawing at him, a hollow feeling that grew wider with each passing year. He'd achieved everything his father dreamed of and more, yet he felt nothing, just the weight of wealth pressing down like stones on his chest. That October morning started like any other. Marcus left his building at exactly 6:47 a.m. for his daily run around Pike Place Market. Same route, same pace, same wireless earbuds playing the same investor podcast. Predictable, controlled, safe. Then he saw him. Huddled in a doorway on Western Avenue sat an old man, maybe 60, maybe 80, impossible to tell. His face was weathered like old leather. His beard was matted and gray. He wore a green army jacket with corporal stripes still visible despite years of dirt and wear. A cardboard sign rested against his knee. "Homeless veteran. Anything helps. God bless." Marcus had seen 1,000 signs like this, 10,000. He usually didn't even slow down. Homelessness was a complex socio-economic issue requiring systemic solutions, not individual handouts. That's what he told himself. That's what made it easier to keep running. But this morning, something made him stop. Maybe it was the way the old man sat, not slouched in defeat, but straight-backed, military posture despite the dirt and desperation. Maybe it was the sign. Veteran. Someone who'd served, who'd sacrificed, who'd given something Marcus never had. Or maybe Marcus was just tired of running from everything uncomfortable. He pulled out his earbuds and approached slowly. The old man looked up. His eyes were clear, bright blue, alert, not clouded by drugs or alcohol or mental illness, just tired, deeply, profoundly tired. "Morning, sir," Marcus said, his voice uncertain. He couldn't remember the last time he'd actually spoken to a homeless person instead of just walking past. "Morning, sir," the old man replied. His voice was rough but steady, respectful. "Spare anything today?" Marcus reached for his wallet by habit. He had maybe $40 cash. He started to pull out a 20. Then he stopped. An idea formed. Crazy, reckless, completely against every principle his father had drilled into him, but he couldn't shake it. "What's your name?" Marcus asked. The old man blinked, surprised. "Leonard. Leonard Hayes. Friends used to call me Lenny." "How long have you been out here, Lenny?" Something flickered across Leonard's face. Shame, maybe? Or just exhaustion from answering that question too many times. 3 years, give or take. Lost my apartment after. "I lost my leg." He gestured down. Marcus noticed for the first time that Leonard's left leg ended at the knee. A crude prosthetic was strapped to the stump. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, and meant it. "Not your fault," Leonard replied with a shrug. IED and Fallujah took the leg. VA took their sweet time with disability payments. Landlord didn't take IOUs. Here we are. Marcus studied Leonard's face, looking for something. Deception, manipulation, the calculating eyes of someone running a con. But he saw none of that. Just a tired veteran sitting in a doorway waiting for the day to pass. His father's voice whispered warnings. "Don't be stupid. Don't be weak. This is exactly how people take advantage of you." But another voice, quieter but growing stronger, whispered something different. "What if you're wrong? What if everything you've believed is just fear disguised as wisdom?" Marcus pulled out his wallet, but instead of cash, he removed a black American Express card, Centurion card. No spending limit, no restrictions, just pure, unrestricted access to wealth most people couldn't comprehend. He held it out to Leonard. Leonard stared at it like Marcus was offering him a live grenade. "Sir, I don't understand." "It's yours for 48 hours, Marcus said, his heart pounding. "Buy whatever you want. No limits, no questions, no conditions." "This is a joke," Leonard said, not taking the card. "Some kind of YouTube prank or social experiment." "No joke," Marcus replied. "I want to test something. My father always told me that desperate people can't be trusted, that poverty turns everyone into thieves eventually. I want to know if he was right." Leonard's expression hardened. "So I'm your experiment, your lab rat to prove poor people are trash." "No," Marcus said quickly, though he realized how it sounded. "I want to know the truth, not what I've been told, not what I've assumed, but what's actually real. You can prove my father right, or you can prove him wrong. Either way, I'll finally know." He pressed the card into Leonard's calloused hand. It looked absurd there, a symbol of extreme wealth in the palm of extreme poverty. 48 hours, Marcus repeated. "There's no pin. Just sign your name. I'll find you here in 2 days. Same time, same place." Leonard stared at the card. His hand trembled slightly. "Why me?" "Because you're here," Marcus said simply. "Because I'm tired of assumptions. Because maybe it's time I actually looked at what I've been running from." Before Leonard could respond, before Marcus could change his mind, he turned and jogged away. His legs felt weak, his chest tight. He'd just handed unlimited access to his personal fortune to a complete stranger. His father would have called him insane. Maybe he was. Marcus tried to focus on work that day, board meetings, product launches, investor calls, but his mind kept drifting back to that doorway on Western Avenue, to Leonard's confused face, to a black credit card in rough hands. By evening, Marcus couldn't stand it anymore. He opened his banking app with shaking fingers. The Centurion card was linked to his personal account. He could track every transaction in real time. For hours, nothing. The card sat unused. No charges, no activity, just silence. Maybe Leonard thought it was fake. Maybe he was afraid to use it. Maybe he'd thrown it away thinking it was some elaborate trick. Or maybe he was planning something, waiting for stores to open, preparing to maximize every possible dollar before Marcus could cancel it. At 11:34 p.m., Marcus's phone buzzed. Transaction, $847.52. Location, Amazon.com. His pulse spiked. He clicked for details, but the app only showed the total, not the specific items, just numbers. cold, impersonal numbers. Then another notification. Transaction $1,247.89. Location Best Buy. Then another. Transaction $623.15. Location Walmart.com. Marcus's chest tightened, not with anger, but with something more complicated. Disappointment? Vindication? He couldn't tell. His father had been right. Give people access to wealth and they take. They take and never stop taking. Leonard was buying electronics, probably expensive ones, things he could resell, things he could trade. Marcus set his phone down and poured himself 3 fingers of scotch, 30-year-old single malt that cost $800 a bottle. It tasted like ash in his mouth. The notifications continued through the night. $400 at Target, $950 at Home Depot, $2,100 at a medical supply store. By morning, Leonard had spent nearly $8,000. Marcus didn't sleep. He stood at his floor-to-ceiling windows watching Seattle's lights blur through exhaustion and something that felt dangerously close to grief. He'd wanted to be wrong. He'd wanted Leonard to prove that goodness still existed in people who'd lost everything. But the numbers didn't lie. Leonard was spending like someone who'd won the lottery, fast, reckless, grabbing everything he could before it disappeared. The second day brought more charges. $567 at a grocery store, $1,200 at a furniture outlet, $890 at a clothing store. By the time 48 hours approached, Leonard had spent over $15,000. Marcus felt hollow. He'd given someone a chance to prove humanity's better angels still existed, and instead he just funded a shopping spree. His father's voice echoed victoriously in his head. I told you, son, the poor will bleed you dry and smile while doing it. But he'd made a promise. 48 hours, same time, same place. He'd return and collect his card and his shattered idealism. The next morning, Marcus didn't run. He drove his Tesla to Western Avenue and parked illegally. He didn't care. He walked slowly toward the doorway where he'd first seen Leonard 2 days ago. The doorway was empty. Of course it was. Leonard had taken the money and disappeared. Probably already traded the electronics for cash, probably 3 states away by now. The credit card would arrive in the mail, cut up, with a note saying, "Thanks for the free money, sucker." Marcus stood there feeling stupid, naive, exactly the kind of fool his father had warned him about becoming. Then he heard a voice. "Mr. Chen?" Marcus turned. Leonard stood 20 feet away, but he looked different, completely different. He was clean, hair trimmed, beard shaped. He wore new jeans, a flannel shirt, and actual shoes instead of torn sneakers held together with duct tape. He looked like a regular person, not homeless, not desperate, just a man standing on a sidewalk. "You came back," Marcus said, trying to hide his shock. "Course I did," Leonard replied, walking closer. "Said I would, didn't I?" He held out the black credit card. "Here, thank you, sincerely. You have no idea what this meant." Marcus took the card slowly. It felt warm from Leonard's pocket. "You spent over $15,000. Leonard's face reddened. "I know, I'm sorry. I tried to be reasonable, but there was so much I needed, so much that—" He stopped, took a breath. "I can explain if you want to hear it." "I want to hear it," Marcus said quietly. Leonard gestured to a coffee shop across the street. "Can I buy you a coffee?" "With my own money," he added quickly. "I got my disability check deposited yesterday, finally. I'd like to buy you a coffee." They sat in a corner booth. Leonard ordered black coffee. Marcus got the same, though he normally drank complicated espresso drinks that cost $8. "I didn't spend your money on myself. I mean, not mostly. Not the way you probably think." He pulled out his phone, an older model, cracked screen, but functional. He opened his photos and started showing Marcus. The first picture showed a woman, maybe 50, sitting in a wheelchair. She was smiling but looked tired, very tired. "My sister, Diane. She's got MS, multiple sclerosis. can't work anymore, lives with her daughter in a tiny apartment in Tacoma. They've been struggling. He swiped to the next photo. A hospital bed with handrails. That's what I bought from the medical supply store. A proper adjustable bed so she doesn't have to sleep on the couch anymore. Costs $2,000, but her insurance wouldn't cover it. He swiped again. Bags of groceries filling a small kitchen. That grocery store charge? I had food delivered to her place. Real food. Not just ramen and canned soup. Meat, vegetables, fruit. Stuff her daughter can't usually afford. Next photo. A teenage girl sitting at a desk with a new laptop. Diane's daughter, my niece Emma. She's 17, smart as hell, wants to be an engineer, but she's been doing all her homework on a phone because they couldn't afford a computer. That Best Buy charge got her a laptop and a printer. She needs it for college applications. Marcus's throat tightened. He swiped to the next photo without being asked. A small living room with a new couch. The furniture store. Diane's old couch was literally held together with duct tape. The springs were shot. She spent 12 hours a day on that thing. She deserved better. Another swipe. Clothes laid out on a bed. Women's clothes, adaptive clothing with easy closures. The Walmart order. Diane needed clothes that work with her wheelchair. Regular clothes are too hard for her to manage alone. Leonard's voice got quieter. The Home Depot charge? I bought supplies to fix their bathroom, make it wheelchair accessible. Grab bars, a shower chair, non-slip mats, stuff that makes her life less dangerous. He set the phone down and looked at Marcus directly. I spent some on myself, yeah. Got cleaned up, new clothes, a week at a cheap motel so I could shower and sleep in a real bed and figure out my next steps. But most of it went to my sister, to my niece, to people who needed help and weren't getting any. Marcus couldn't speak. His vision blurred. He blinked rapidly. I know what you thought, Leonard continued. I know what everyone thinks about homeless people, that we're addicts or lazy or mentally ill, or will waste any money on alcohol and drugs. And some people do. Some people are that desperate. But some of us just got unlucky, just hit a bad patch and couldn't climb back out. He wrapped both hands around his coffee mug. I was an electrician before Iraq. Good job, union benefits, retirement plan. Then I lost my leg. Then I lost my career. Then the VA messed up my paperwork. Then I lost my apartment. Then I lost everything. And people stopped seeing me as a person. I became invisible. Just another homeless vet with a sign. You're not invisible, Marcus said, his voice rough. Not to me. Not anymore. Leonard smiled sadly. You gave me a chance to take care of people I love. Do you know how long it's been since I could help anyone? Since I could be useful instead of just being a burden? Marcus thought about his penthouse, his wine collection, his original Warhol prints. He'd spent more on a single painting than Leonard had spent taking care of his entire family. I'm sorry, Marcus said. For what? For testing you. For treating your desperation like a science experiment. For assuming the worst. Leonard shook his head. You gave me more than money. You gave me dignity. You looked at me like I was human. Do you know how rare that is? Most people don't even make eye contact. They sat in silence for a moment. The coffee shop hummed with morning activity around them. People getting lattes, checking phones, completely unaware that something fundamental was shifting at the corner booth. What happens now? Where do you go from here? Leonard shrugged. I've got my disability payments sorted out now, finally. The VA got their act together. It's not much, but it's something. I'm on a waiting list for a transitional housing. Should get a spot in a few months if I'm lucky. A few months? Marcus repeated. You're supposed to sleep in doorways for a few more months? Been doing it for 3 years, Leonard said with a bitter smile. Few more months won't kill me. Probably. Marcus pulled out his phone, started typing. What's your full name? Leonard Hayes? Yes, but why? Social security number. Mr. Chen, I don't... Give me your social security number, Leonard. Leonard rattled it off, confused. Marcus spent the next several minutes on his phone, making calls, sending texts, accessing accounts. Finally, he looked up. I made you an appointment at the VA tomorrow at 2 p.m., and I'm sending a car to pick you up. They're going to fast-track your prosthetic, get you a proper leg, not that medieval torture device you're using now. Leonard's mouth opened. No sound came out. There's a furnished studio apartment in Capitol Hill, month-to-month lease. First 3 months paid. It's yours, starting today, if you want it. Nothing fancy, but it's clean, safe, has a bed and a kitchen. Mr. Chen, and I made some calls to a friend who runs a construction company. You said you were an electrician. He needs licensed electricians. Union job, benefits, the whole deal. You'll have to do some retraining to get current with codes, but he's willing to work with you. Interview is next Thursday if you're interested. Tears ran down Leonard's weathered face. He didn't bother wiping them away. I don't understand. Why are you doing this? Because you proved my father wrong, Marcus said simply. Because you spent a billionaire's money on love and necessity. Because you could have bought anything for yourself, and instead you bought dignity for your sister and hope for your niece. Because you're exactly the kind of person who deserves help. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. That's my personal cell. You need anything, you call me. References for jobs, help navigating VA bureaucracy, someone to talk to when things get hard. Whatever you need. Leonard held the card like it was made of glass. I can't repay this. You already did, Marcus replied. You showed me what I've been too afraid to see for 42 years. That goodness exists even in people who've lost everything. That my father was wrong about the most important thing. That trust isn't weakness. They finished their coffee in comfortable silence. Marcus thought about all the assumptions he'd carried like stones in his pockets, about how heavy they'd been, about how light he felt now that he'd finally set them down. When they stood to leave, Leonard held out his hand. Marcus shook it. Then, impulsively, he pulled Leonard into a hug. The old veteran stiffened in surprise, then hugged back. Thank you, Leonard whispered, for seeing me, for giving me a chance to be human again. Thank you, Marcus replied, for proving that humanity still exists. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a small but cheerful apartment in Tacoma. Leonard had invited him for dinner, to meet his family, to celebrate. Diane sat in her wheelchair near the new adjustable bed, looking stronger than in the photos. Her daughter Emma was home from her first semester at the University of Washington, studying engineering on a full scholarship. Leonard looked completely different, healthy, happy. He'd been working construction for 4 months now, saving money, planning for the future. He'd gained weight, muscle instead of hunger. His eyes were clear and bright. They ate dinner around a table Marcus had helped assemble. Nothing fancy, just pasta and salad and garlic bread. But it was the best meal Marcus had ever eaten, because it tasted like family, like connection, like being human. So, what changed? Emma asked during dessert. She was sharp, direct, already thinking like an engineer. Why did you decide to help a random homeless guy? Marcus thought about how to answer. I spent my whole life believing that trust was dangerous, that people would take advantage if given the chance. I built walls to protect myself, but walls that keep people out also keep you trapped inside. He looked at Leonard. Your uncle showed me that my walls were made of fear disguised as wisdom. He showed me that the richest thing I own isn't money. It's the ability to look someone in the eyes and say, I see you. You matter. I'll help you stand. After dinner, Marcus drove back to Seattle, but instead of going home to his empty penthouse, he pulled over at a different street corner, where another veteran sat with another cardboard sign. Marcus got out of his car, knelt down, started a conversation, because Leonard had taught him something his father never could, that wealth means nothing if it doesn't multiply meaning, that power is worthless without purpose, that the test he'd designed for Leonard had actually been a test for himself, and he'd finally, miraculously, passed. 3 years later, Marcus stood in a podium in front of journalists, politicians, and investors. He was announcing something new, the Hayes Foundation, named after a veteran who'd taught him about humanity. Comprehensive support for homeless veterans, housing, job training, medical care, family support. No bureaucracy, no degrading processes, just help extended with dignity to people who'd served their country and been forgotten. And sitting in the front row, wearing a suit he'd bought with his own paycheck, his prosthetic leg crossed over his knee, was Leonard Hayes. No longer homeless, no longer invisible, no longer forgotten. Just a man who'd survived and found his footing on the other side. Marcus caught Leonard's eye during the speech. Leonard smiled and nodded, the kind of nod that said everything words couldn't. After the press conference, they stood together on the steps of the building. "You know," Leonard said, "you didn't have to name it after me. That's a lot of pressure." "You changed my life," Marcus replied. "You shattered every assumption I'd built over 42 years. You showed me what really matters. You earned this." Leonard was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Your father was wrong, about trust, about poor people, about everything that actually matters. I know. Thanks to you, I finally know." They stood in comfortable silence, watching people stream past. Rich and poor, housed and homeless, all just humans trying to make it through another day. Marcus thought about that October morning when he'd stopped running long enough to see a veteran in a doorway, when he'd handed over a credit card like a test, when he'd expected the worst and received grace instead. Leonard had spent a billionaire's money on love and family and dignity, had proven that desperation doesn't destroy goodness, had broken Marcus's heart open in the best possible way. And Marcus would spend the rest of his life grateful that one cold morning he'd stopped believing his father's fears and started trusting his own hope. The test had changed everything, but the greatest lesson was this: trust isn't weakness. Walls aren't protection. And the richest thing you can give another person isn't money. It's the simple recognition that they're human, that they matter, that they deserve to be seen. Thank you for watching. Take a few seconds to subscribe, like, and share this story with people you love. See you on the next one.